Hi, folks. Nick Tockard here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get into our program, I do have some bills to pay. The Historical Fencing Guild's live stream is brought to you with the love and support of our good friends over. Oh no, that's my that is my affiliate link. Hold on. Good friends over at the Independent Creator Directory. That's IndieCD.org, your one-stop shop for the best and the brightest authors, artists, musicians, and other creatives. If you are looking to find the perfect place to host your work where you don't have to worry about billionaires attempting to run for president without actually running, uh, you can join up there. And for a low one time fee, you'll be able to have a web presence, have people showing you, have a community that is contacting you, supporting you. People will tell you what kind of conventions in the area are favored, which ones aren't, because there is a secret social media group, and the people from there have a notorious habit of, shall we say, spilling the proverbial tea. Now, see, that's done. That's done. Boop. We are also, of course, made possible by sales of. Oh, the plow has come by my house for the first time today. The simple sword, the fighting axe, and the simple spear, all part of my ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals designed to help you go from having never handled the sword to teaching the art to others. Now, as well as my games, my books, basically everything. But the most important people are listed down here, they being my patrons: Off in the Woods, Frog G, Ronald Rain, Bladed Thesis, Brian K. Morris, Cindy Kep, Steve Augusto, Don Dulas, and Angelina Vaquera Link. I hope I'm saying her name right. These wonderful people give me just enough money to buy the gear that I review. And did I leave it out there? I bet I did. And the things that I've ordered to do projects and, inform you. What I was just looking for was I literally moments before the stream hit had some packages come in. And they are leather scrap that I'm going to use to make assorted useful things. It's really not armoring grade leather, but the techniques are the same. It's just the leather is normally thicker. So I was going to show that to you, but alas, it is out of the room, so I will have to get that elsewhere. However, I also want to put a notice that my internet has been cutting in and out and been insanely dubious all day long due to the fact that we are under just a constant mild blizzard. So my net may drop out. If it starts looking really funky, I reserve that I may have to call it early tonight. Not because I want to, but because, of course, the net is as the net is. Now, last week we had a lot of commentary with a lovely lady by the name of Ruby about different fighting styles, different weapons, different techniques. I hope it was educational for you all. That does mean that in part the Ask Me Anything got bumped up to today, which is fine. It is open for the comments. It is open for the chat. I'm also trying to decide, and I will need you guys' help, on which of the guild-related books I want to do next as my nonfiction writing project. I'm sorry, it's actually very, very warm in here because I turned off the ceiling fan, so I may have to turn that ceiling fan back on. But the options are, I could do a slow journey where I am basically trying to track my personal journey to see if I can get back into health to try to authorize. I'm sorry. I was reached out by Rex Allen Hood, a dear friend of mine, with a challenge to see if I couldn't authorize by the Purdue Open, which is a fencing tournament in November. Now, I don't know because I have several health concerns that are going on, so I will have to speak to my medical care provider. But I could try to journal my process into that, which would give me a new book by next year, possibly. That is on the menu. Um, I've had enough people ask my take on self-defense, practical self-defense, and I've worked at points on this book, but it's been until recently. It's hard to write because I have to be in a very thinking like the bad guys for long periods of time. And it overlaps other things I want to write because I need to write about stick fighting. I need to write about the use of the staff and cane as weapons and as defensive tools. Rigid parry objects, and it's an interesting subject how one trains around the use of a stick, because as we've discussed in the past, so much of it depends on, are we coming at it from the very beginning, where this is a stick, we put this in your hands, or are we coming back to it as a student of other styles better understanding? It is very much a Mobius strip. There are reasons it's called the grandfather of weapons. Because just about every weapon technique that you train in has a expression in some form of stick and staff fighting. And I have looked at a lot of that over the years. Obviously, I've looked into Bartitsu because, of course, I would look into Bartitsu, the Victorian English system of self-defense, which involves jujitsu, certain the weaponization of everyday objects, boxing. It's an integrated, in many ways, a mixed martial art that was sort of created, lost, and has been rebuilt by certain communities, including, ironically, the steampunk community. So you have a historic anomaly in Bartitsu, in that, much like many of the Chinese styles, it was practiced, lost, and then is being rebuilt. I'm not sure. But I find that also overlapping back into my applied self-defense video. Not video, manual, book series. One second. I'm sorry. With the snow and stuff, the air in here is quite dry, and I don't want to lose my voice, which has happened in weather like this. I have to be careful with such things. I've sustained several rather gratuitous neck injuries over the years. This should shock no one. But I need to know where you guys want on that, what you're especially weighing the opinions of my Patreon members. Because my Patreon members have access to one version of this book already that I've been working on for some time. And I got distracted and had to work on some other things, and life caught up with me. I may just go back to that. But again, I have to look at what you guys want. I also need to know what you guys want to focus on in the new year. Obviously, I have to focus on my background. I have to focus on some other things. But life dealt me a bit of a hand in that my dryer stopped working rather violently, and we got it back working, but it took a considerable amount of time. So I am behind in my weekend's goals, and that's making 2025 feel very 2025-ish. I'd also like to know, how is the climate out there, both, uh, you know, weather-wise and just general. How are people handling things? How are people acting? Because there is some overlap with self-defense, and there is some messaging on self-defense that needs to be discussed. Now, I'm going to shout something, so I'm going to mute myself just for a moment. I forgot to bring the leather stuff, but I didn't want to blow out the mic at this time of night getting into that. So while I wait for the leather good delivery, I'm going to go through your comments, and we're going to talk about it. Thank you, son. So I got a couple packages in the mail. But this is the leather. I ordered a quantity of 2 pounds of leather scrap on Amazon for like $6 because I need to get back into things. So most of the scraps are clearly material that's been cut out for, it's wastage essentially for other patterns. And this feels a lot like possibly suede boot material. But this is joy because I get to go through all these pieces and ooh, nice strapping. Okay. I have almost pre-cut straps. They're not perfect, but then I've dealt with far worse. This was sort of a test run and in lots of colors. So what I will probably do is look at the projects that I can make. And figure out what I can do, because like I could easily take a piece like this, I either fold it or back it, right? So you back it, leave a little bit of flex, and then take another piece that's a bit stiffer and put it on the front, cut and shape it, rivet it, sew it, bring it on, and it would be a nice, depending on how I do it, it could be very similar to an old one I had for my backup dagger. We could do loop frogs that, I could get my eyelets out, and that would make it very, very simple to make a simple lace-up frog, something that has a loop and a loop. And as I go through this stuff and see what I have, I will plan a breakdown, if you will, on how simple frogs or sword and sheath holders. A frog. Okay, one moment, because I can describe it, but visual sword, frog. Images. Give me just a second. We're going to move tab to new window. We're going to move it over here. Give that full reign. And I will present it. And I will show you so that you can see what we're talking about. Add to stage. Okay. This is the best picture I'm seeing readily. It is the device that attaches a sheath and sword to the to a belt or a baldric or a hanger, however you're hanging your weapons. So let me see. It does my mouse is showing over. This piece right here. This is a simple version. If you have buckles, and I will have to go through and see what of my buckles I have. But what you will find is that these things can be remarkably expensive, and there is very little justification for them to be so. So I will show you how to make a simple version of this using a couple basic techniques of leatherworking. Obviously not today, because I still have to inspect, select, and either actually make a pattern, find a pattern, or just what I'll usually do is make a pattern. I'm not sure why it's called the frog, I'll be honest. But this is where to go. I can see you. Everyone else can see you. And yes, frogs can also work for rope darts and whips. There are a variety of things. The family of the little loops that hold Renaissance mugs up, and pouches and other things. See, this is a beautiful picture, because this, I'm saving this image. Frog. Is that attached to a baldric? No, that's just a frog. Back. Boom. Okay, had to save that. But I have made several along this basic style and pattern. I have to find my show belt, but I could set that up and talk you through that if that is something you'd like to know. And because it's Whip's Nice Kitty. This isn't something I've heard of yet, obviously. Kitty, I can't remember if Sarah's been around, but she does rope dart. And I would love to see a video of her doing so that we can, show it off here. But this is one of the basic ideas that I can do with this leather. I can do multiples. I can. This is hold on, let me bring me back up for a moment. This is pretty thin leather. So I could use this to mount a plate onto, but I wouldn't use this as armor in itself. But for something like a truly rugged pouch, this would be great. There are a few other things I could make with this. It's almost the right thickness that it could be stitched on as part of a hilt. So there are some options. I just have to go through them. And I'm sorry, I'm watching my video go down. So we will look at that. Do I have the pieces to make a gorget, even as an example? Not really. And the other thing is, I don't think this leather would tool well. I don't think it would emboss well. It really doesn't have the thickness and rigidity for something like that. It would take paint or burning well, or dyes, obviously, because as you can see, this has all been dyed different colors. This has a bit of little bit of hardening to it. So this is a non-suede leather. So I don't know if it shows, but you see how that's matte? It's soft. It almost feels like it's very, very finely fuzzy. This has a much smoother finish, which means this would be a bit more damage and water resistant. So this could be something a little different. And that's what I have to do. I have to go through the leathers. I have to look at all the scraps. And back when I was in the SCA many, many, many moons ago, I would love when people would make projects and have scrap that I can't use that. I can use literally just about any piece of scrap for something in leather, even if it's just scraps like this are actually, if we're talking, here we go. This was a thicker gauge, but it's the same idea. Let me get this where you can see. Hide me a bit. There you go. Do you see that carved and rugged surface right here? I needed something I could compress both here and, let me see, under the discard, pardon the dust and shenanigans, of this rig. And what you want is something that's going to keep the pieces from, okay, that's just a line and thing, it didn't crack, from spinning freely. You want to be able to adjust the tension, essentially. So it serves a purpose that we would use maybe a rubber flange for, like a rubber washer, or certain types of plastic washers to keep them from spinning. But that means this is very versatile stuff. This is very utilitarian stuff. Ironically, this is very close to what a lot of period shoes would have been made out of for cobbling. Cobbling being shoemaking. But I'm really interested in, if I had some more of this lightly hardened stuff, I could almost do a gorget. Now, again, I could use this as a base and add plating and use the plating to cover the pieces in a gorget. That's the way, again, my other one does. I'll have to bring the specific parts, but I didn't expect this to be in today. I am giddy. This is like Christmas for me because I get to go through this and see how it will interact, and I may acquire some Goodwill belts, but like pieces like this excite me a lot because they're pre-made. Very easily, one could go tunk and then simply add hardware. So a ring and a mounting piece could be riveted right here. Speaking of rivets, now a while ago, I purchased a very simple leatherworking set for setting rivets and doing that kind of leather work, which I can use rivets with this. I can also easily use sewing with this, which means I need to get some more dental floss. I say dental floss because when you are sewing leather, you use waxed thread, and waxed thread is a bit expensive compared to dental floss, which is just waxed thread that might smell a little minty. So guess what? Many of my projects, armor and effects, if you will, pouches, bags, bandoliers, have a little hint of minty freshness. Now, see, one thing I'm really tempted as a thought, because if I could find a larger base piece, it would be really neat to make a series like, okay, I want to show you, because this is how your brain starts to work when you're doing this. It's not going to be perfect, but you have to visually square some stuff off. But I could easily cut that there and flap it so that this has a square lead, and fold it over, add a snap. I have snap inputs, or a tog of some sort, a loop, and then a little toggle, a little bit of wood stitch on there to hold it. And I could make a whole bunch of small pouches and attach them to some kind of bandolier. We have options. And I am very, very excited to play with this, which is what's throwing me off. But in my bag, and I want to say this was like $6 for 2 pounds of leather. It was not expensive. I have some of my favorite things in the world. And I mean, just an abhorrent amount of joy. This is a little set. Again, I want to say it was like $6 to $12. Where it came with some rivets. It came with the rivet setter, which is already trying to push its way through the bag. Yay, China. But, and yes, it's better to buy an American or European-made version of this product if you can get them. However, not all of us can afford to do so. And even with putting what is donated to me from you wonderful people, and what I make selling my books, I am still forced to rather extreme levels of frugality. And that, my friends, is okay. Whether this was intentional or not, I don't know. But they didn't. I think they heat sealed the Ziploc when they sent it. But, and I am sorry if my image keeps flickering. The net comes and goes. It's all I can do. I'm holding out at best I can. This will let me set in a rivet, and it will let me set the burr down. I will need to find my cutters and then a rivet. I want to open this. Whoa! What you want is a hole that is just slightly smaller. And this is a very nice punch because you could tell it has a good gate. What I mean, a good punch. Let me get where can you see? Yeah, you can see how the light goes through. Oh, can you? Let me move my fingers. There you go. Get a little glimmer. So this part is actually quite sharp, and it can be sharpened if it dulls to an extent, like all things. I am a bigger fan of a rotary punch, which may be something I show you guys later. But this cookie cutters out a chunk of leather in the diameter of the hole you want, and the cookie, if you will, builds up in here and then pops right out the side, and it keeps it from fouling because you still have access to push through. Now, that's what got me. There's a hole in the bag that big. Okay. You'll notice there are 2 punches, and I'm not quite exactly sure on the diameters, but they correspond with the 2 holes, which corresponds with the 2 sizes of rivets and burrs. Now, that means I should be able to take one of these guys, and that looks like a number 8. It might be a number 10. And how a rivet works is really cool. Copper, especially, is a soft metal. Now, you will see conical rivets. You'll see, not conical, tubular rivets. And pop rivets. They work different. But an actual copper rivet, and I got ones that are slightly too long, which means I have a lot of material to work with. I would put what I am joining between it. So if I'm joining 2 pieces of metal, I'll probably put a little circle of leather between them just to keep life happy, an oiled piece of leather. But this hammers down, and as you can see, the rivet is a tube. Now let me get this to an angle where you can see. Again, hide my face so it doesn't focus. Come on, come on. Will it focus? Come on. Sorry. Let me find. That's not going to stand out well. Okay, here we go. There we go. There. It may be hard to see, but that actually looks like it's partially narrowed. It's like they put it through a pencil sharpener just a little bit. Come on. Oh, you can do it, baby. There we go. Okay. That narrowed version is enough to go through its matching burr, which is this little washer-looking guy. So what you do is you hammer that down as flat as possible onto the material. So it squishes the material. Then you cut the excess of the copper shaft off, and you either use a very specific tool, or I will simply use a hammer because I am experienced with this, and a small vise to drive and mushroom out, to flatten, expand, and it comes down and it holds the burr in place, sandwiching it around the material. There are very, very few times that very few things that make me happier than a good set of copper rivets, because they are much stronger than the tube speed rivets and much stronger than pop rivets. And pop rivets are so named because you pop the piece through. But I will be giving you guys a breakdown on all of that, perhaps as early as next week, if I can get a table aligned and move my camera in such that I have access to what's going on with you guys. But this plastic table will shake way too easily for me to hit anything with a hammer. So you'll get to see that if you're interested. And again, everything I do is in service of the guild. So you have to flat out say, yes, Nick, I am interested. It's a very strong way of putting metals together. I may show you guys a basic lock stitch leather sewing. It's very similar to the process that Thesis uses to bind his books. And I say that because he may find, and yes, I'm speaking to you directly, Thesis, that if you can get a set of scraps like this and get either a piece big enough to fold over, square, something like so, you could make very inexpensive for you to make leather-bound journals and such, if you use a light weight of leather. Now that this has all come in, and like I said, I'm inspecting this in front of you. All I did is rip open the bag to make sure it wasn't something inappropriate. Like Nerf guns or something. I'll be able to, we can be able to set things up like that. So I will probably give a very light, a survey course, an introduction to the basics of rudimentary poverty-based. Oh, I bet that's good for the full week. Leatherworking. And all that, I'm going to put all this in one bag till I get my toolbox back up here and make leather stuff. Actually, I could show you an example kind of what I'm talking about. This is a Mora knife, okay? It is from, I believe, the late 70s. This is a survival knife. Now, ironically, you can still buy a Mora knife, Mora brand knives, Mora Kniv, today. You can actually get them at Walmart, and they, though $10 for the modern version, they are still considered some of the best survival knives in the world. But aside from the fact that this is indeed a Mora 503, this is a very real, very practical knife from Mora, Sweden. You can see the markings a bit on the blade. And I will remind you, I am a professional. Let's see if I can. They're not showing real well, but you should be able at least to tell that the markings are there. This is a elegant but practical work knife. It is moderately sharp. I'm putting it aside because that's not the part that we're interested in. The part that we're interested in are the rivets, because these are tubular rivets. And you can tell they're tubular because the back is hollow. So the rivet goes in, and you do the same thing. It mushrooms in a much nicer pattern to sync up with the cap. Instead of a burr, you don't have excess that you have to trim and then peen. So it's much more consistent, but it is not quite as strong. Now, what I love in this piece, and it's one of the reasons I had no choice but to acquire this knife, you have basic snap. So you have the top piece of the snap, and it's been blossomed out. You see how the base has been spread out. You'll see the bottom of the snap. Sorry, that was the top. This is the bottom. Well, the female to the male part is basically just a tubular rivet that gets put in a snap setter. If I can find mine, I may demonstrate and talk about those. But this also gives you a really neat kind of idea for how one can make truly beautiful reinforcements on a knife sheath, because the sheath is stitched together and then riveted. It has to be riveted around it. It's not riveted first because there's no start and stop. So you have the stitching that goes all the way around. Then you have the rivets, which give much more added strength, just like you find in the corner of your jeans. Then you have an additional edge guard, essentially, built in. This is beautiful work. This is not medieval, but it is a very old design. It is not Renaissance. It might be Renaissance. It's very similar to some. Now, when we talk about peening and riveting, I can actually show you one other. This is a peened pommel. So I'm going to put this on just for safety. Okay. And please remember, I am literally a professional. Okay. That piece that is kind of dinged up, this is actually the tang of the knife. This is a full tang knife. And the end of it has been peened, which is that process of banging the a cylinder down to make a dome to hold on to material. It is a very old, very effective way of holding metal to metal and metal to leather, as you see right here. So this is right here. You actually have essentially how we would do adding armor plating to leather materials for armor. You have this wonderful, I assume it's stainless, it's near mirror finish, glorious stuff attached to the leather. Now, this is it's right along the line of where I would go, is that armor grade or not? I prefer a little bit more weight when I'm making my armor, but it gives you an idea of the function that we're going to talk about. And like I said, I am sorry, I'm pulling this all out of what I have handy to discuss. So that's the general gist of what I've been up to. We're talking about some of this in the future. We're going to talk weapons in the future. We're going to talk armor in the future. I want you to understand the means of making your own armor. And a big part of that is, while this does not have ballistic applications in any way, shape, or form, understanding how to make your own armor can be very effective if you want to upgrade your protective gear when you're going into certain types of landscaping, animal handling, the leather work you find around horsemanship is amazing. It's beautiful. But I can show you some of that basic stuff if that interests you. I've been prattling for 40 minutes, so obviously it interests me. Basically, in the evenings, once I have my gear set up, Mandy will be gleefully spinning wool, acrylic, or cotton into thread and then plying the thread into yarn that she can then crochet. And I will be doing leather working projects, tapping away and perhaps doing the sewing, perhaps doing painting, embossing, engraving the leather. There are a lot of options as I find the tools that I have. Or I do like now, catch them on a cheap sale and I replace them. So it's good to be able to talk a little bit about what we do over here, because the Historical Fencing Guild is not simply about the combat. It is about the education. It is about the skills attached to it. Because you have to realize, just like modern warfare, there was a lot of tip of the spear versus the support staff. I think it took 20 or 30 people to support essentially each fighter, because you have to have cooks, you have to have laundry folks, you have to have armorers, you have to have teamsters pulling the wagons. There is a lot that must be done in the background of a military campaign that, as a defensive-minded person, you need to know how to do for yourself since then. I also have found that having the ability to, should it become necessary, make improvisational armor can be beneficial. It's a series of fascinating exercises that can tie us to the past while maintaining skills to keep them from being lost. And if I continue getting good deals on the leather and I can get the things together, I may offer some pieces for sale at my booths when I am doing conventions, both the ones I run and the ones that I will be attending. Right now, I have 3 slated for this coming year, that I consider locked in. That being the upcoming, I want to say March 7th, IndieCD.com in Fowler, Indiana. I know the LodgeCon in, near Bourbonnais, Illinois, at the, I can't, it's at the fairgrounds and I cannot remember the county. It's just my brain farted. Fairgrounds. I know that will be I want to say the first week of November. It's right around my anniversary. And then there will be, of course, StompCon. I may attend some other events. I may do demos either at the local library if this gets more comfortable. I may do demos, obviously, for you guys. I would love to be able to set up a camera and do the pre-recorded demos with cameras, with a camera person and or multiple angles that I can cut together and edit into some really great educational stuff for my patrons. And then once it goes to the patrons and they have access, they will get to decide whether it goes to the public or it remains a Patreon exclusive, as I have done in the past. Thus far, my patrons always have me reveal it to the public in about a month, but I want to give them the right to retain it. They also will have the unique ability to download it without having to pay YouTube to download it. That's my next set of plans for making things giving more to my amazing patrons. Now, I have neglected the chat, and I am very sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the chat right now, and we'll see if there are any questions, any comments that affect what we're doing, and then we will address them. I don't know if my image is flickering for you guys or not. It is for me, and I'm sorry for that. We are fighting truly monstrous internet. So first for the door was Sarah. Evening. Hello, Sarah. It's always good to hear from you, my dear. And Thesis was just speaking of him. And is this going to be live since I'm the only one in the chat 4 minutes before showtime? Yes. I will I will continue to do my live programs whether anyone else attends in the chat or not. It just means there's less people to rein in my outlandish way of thinking. And hey, brother. Hey, Sarah. And more snow today, and what scooped off the roads turned to slush, and now ice, staying in 100% eeks. How is it with everyone else? I could not see across the street for any measurable distance all day. No windmills, nothing beyond the telephone pole. We didn't have a lot of snow, but we had drifting that was weird, and no one was on the road. Very early in this broadcast, I believe I mentioned it, I heard a plow go by for the first time all day. And by the sound of it, it may have been just a local guy plowing to make things better. And just cold here, says Thesis. Haven't got any new snow since the day after Christmas. And Trey is saying, greeting Sarah and Thesis. Hello, Trey. Trey, how are you feeling? And wow, we got rain, Christmas, and New Year's. It was odd, but not odd if it didn't make sense. Didn't grow up with it that way. Yeah, it finally feels enough like Christmas that I am listening to like instrumental Christmas music, and my Christmas tree is still up because it's adding a little joy at a time where I'm not feeling terribly joyous. Hey, Trey, great to see you guys. Physically much better. The bug going around went away. Yay. Evening. Hello, Dawn. And how are you doing with the lingering cough? And hey, Dawn. Sorry. Like I said, I'm still having internet troubles. And Ruby has joined us. Hello. Sorry if it joins up. Hello, Ruby. I hope you are doing well. I heard that you were able to make contact with Trelena. I am very glad. There is no one on this earth or any others that I would trust in the basic education of Western martial arts more than Trelena Bachman. Save, of course, for myself. But I'm really glad that you guys got to have a conversation. I'm really glad that you have someone to lean on. And that's what the guild's for. You'll notice I never set this up as the Nicholas Talker fencing school or something. This is the Historical Fencing Guild. We help each other, and we help each other find what we're looking for, be it weapons or gear, trainers or events. Manuals get passed around. This is how people get to learn and stay, if not current, because current isn't quite the right word, but continue their adventure into Western martial arts. Hi, Nicholas. Zombie mode this morning was so thick I don't remember the show, but I do remember they stayed through it. Okay, brain zombie mode. Well, I'm glad you were there. You can always watch it again in the rerun. Hi, Ruby. Freaking awesome to see you. Cough is still lingering, sadly, but I'm getting better slowly. Glad to hear that you're getting better, Thesis. Hey, Dawn and Ruby, says Trey. Glad to see you back, Ruby. Still coughing, too. On the mend, but slowly is mending. So, yeah, but while coughing, that's got to be annoying. Yeah, so fun. It's your fave, right? LOL. Oh my God, I hope it isn't waking you up with coughing fits. Last week was very helpful for me and got me talking to Trelena. That was good. I am so glad. Trelena is an absolute goddess. I've made no secret that I love her more than anyone else that doesn't share my last name. She and Joey are just right in my heart. And that's great, Ruby. I'm so glad you're at least in the right direction for your journey, at least in my opinion. Going for anything to learn is the right direction. Absolutely. And Kitty, hi, Kitty, is happy to see Ruby. See, we're all glad you're here. Very supportive lot. Learn and work towards recovery is admirable and shows strength. So many people don't. Exactly. And that's one thing I will always comment on, guys. I recognize the tremendous effort it takes to move forward. I understand how hard it can be to come back from physical, emotional, social abuse, illness, these things. And that's what we're about. just putting the folded hands up. I want to see everybody level up. That's why I tell people when I first start working with them, my first goal is to make sure after you're safe and you're having fun, is make sure you can beat me fairly, because you should be able to. Afterwards, if you still respect my opinion, which the vast majority do, then we can help you get better. But it's all going to be about finding your fight, how you choose to fight, how you choose to move, what works with your body. It isn't me shoving technique and dictates down your throat. It's a collaborative effort. Don't forget to like the show. Yes, please. Due to the nature of the programming and the details I discuss, the YouTube algorithm actively works against my channel. So please share it. Thesis says, Thesis says, Trey is awesome and will be a good teacher for you. I've enjoyed talking to you as well. Sorry to hear you got sick. And Trey is awesome for educating. Certainly has helped me too. And hello, Cindy Cap. Cindy Cap is not only an incredible author and game designer and other wonderful things, she is a Eastern martial artist of no small water. And I can't wait to see her Chinese saber forms. It will be fascinating. Hi, Cindy. Hey, Cindy. Such a good listener as well, which is so important. Great for both, easy to talk to. I've started to dabble looking at Bartitsu. It's really cool. I like the idea of being able to use a mobility aid as an effective deterrent weapon. Exactly. The other thing is Bartitsu was one of the last approaches for a long time that was very female encouraging, not just friendly, but encouraging. When they started training on how to use your umbrella, how to use your hat pin, etc., effectively. Now, I had a book. My father is borrowing it right now, which means I will probably have to buy myself another copy on Bartitsu, the fighting style of Sherlock Holmes. I will see if I can get another copy, and I will put the recommend, because it's a fabulous book. I don't know if Trey has a copy, or if she doesn't, I will see what I can do. Again, I am sorry. It is quite warm in here, and my throat is getting very dry. Hey, Cindy. Hey, Cindy. Y'all are making me blush. Good. You should learn that you deserve praise. You are talented and gifted, and not just that phrase left over from it being a child. You have a rare ability to empathize and appreciate and analyze your students. It is not a light thing that I defer people to you, Trelena. You know me. And the horrific standards I hold to myself to. And what is Bartitsu? Now, we've discussed it. Bartitsu is the Victorian Edwardian kind of crossover system of study where primarily the Brits combined jiu-jitsu and other martial arts to come up with a system of defense that fit their lifestyle. Fascinating study. Waves. Big stompy robots wielding simple swords against Haints and Hellfire. You were so close to the book I want to get back to writing, but it is. Thank you. Please go to and look at my books, and not just the manuals. There's good reading there too. Well, if you weren't so awesome, we wouldn't gush all over you so much. That's true, Trey. You've helped me a lot too. Blade speaks the truth. See? And like I said, in the event something happened to me, Trelena would be doing something similar like this broadcast at her schedule, because she's my successor. Ooh, that's getting blinky. Waves back at Cindy. And you can find the rest of the... Hold on. Yep. Find the rest of the Hysterical Fencing Guild here, youtube.com/@thehistoricalfencingguild, and Scrap Happiness. You understand. Joy. And Cindy is another one who benefited with this as well in a whole different situation. And package openings are always fun. Absolutely. From what I've read, it's kind of an Edwardian, a Victorian Edwardian, not sure on the timing, era martial art. And that's the thing. It pops up and it kind of falls in the background. I have found, ironically and tragically, simple, effective means of self-defense become popular and seem to be suppressed. And then a new system rises up, it becomes popular, and then again, it's suppressed. It's almost as though certain forces do not want the populace to have the means to defend themselves. That's an interesting concept throughout history. Oh, and T for You, Thesis has a show tomorrow, I believe, if he's feeling up to it. Frogs. Sounds like something I'd be interested in. Frogs? What the derp is that? Hold swords. Frog hold swords. And Dr. Dulas. How you doing, Dale? Oh, so different than a sheath. Yeah. The sheath is what protects the sword. So, this part, basically, this is kind of integrated, but you could think of the sheath as this bottom part, right? And then the part that is attaching, if it were separate, would be a frog. Hey, doctor. I'm sorry, every time I see Dr. Dulas pop up, I hear the Doctor Who theme run through my mind. And Wikipedia, Bartitsu. Hey, Dad. Oh, I didn't know they had a specific name. They have a lot of specific names, and I love things like that. That we get to meet and discuss different cultures. And I'm not sure which I should follow. I like both and ended up here. I prefer I get more credit if you follow mine. The other one is the Independent Creator Directory. Nothing wrong with following it there, but the conversations usually take place here. And I will have to look up why they call it a frog. Good place to land. And Whips, nice kitty. And for sure, Dawn. I love the black pouch with the rivet holes. Want. Sounds interesting to get into while adding my own style to it. Leatherworking, possibly, not sure, but possibility. And yes, let me give this back. I twinged my elbow and it's not happy with me. I have a lovely forest green. I'm hoping it shows up against Kamayo. A very nice, smooth walnut, almost mahogany brown. A classic tan, undyed. And it looks like that is the color range. There's no true black in here, but we have different pieces of this exact material. So I could... Ooh, is that blue? Oh, that's neat stuff. I missed that stuff. That's neat. It's smooth, but it is this very interesting blue-black on the polished side and just a blue-green on the back. I like that material. Now, I used to frequent a store called Candy Leather. However, that has speckling that concerns me. I may have to try to clean that. Yeah, that one got a little wet, I think. And then this really, I love this feel. This kind of great. And it's just a 2-pound bag of leather. Now they sell larger bags cheaper. I could have got 25 pounds of leather. Cheaper per pound. But I needed to test to see what they were going to call scrap before I considered ordering from them. I can make stuff with this. And I have made assorted pouches and hangers and hammer hangers and other things in the past. Work on my bow scabbard. I've got most of the pieces. Just put it together. Absolutely. Nice blade. It would be a great streaming to watch. Scrap leather is great. Sure. What do they now call vegan leather? That's really interesting to me because I'd have to handle the material. I'm sure it is something akin to vinyl. I really need to handle it and touch it, feel it, smell it, pull on it, possibly cut a piece to feel how the material will work. If you are looking to practice on leather, there are options. Now, I have been known, in fact, I'm quite legendary as the fastest couch skinner in the Midwest, wherein if somebody puts a leather couch out for the garbage, that maybe the frame is busted, whatever, or part of it is stained, I am notorious for stopping whatever I'm doing, hopping out and harvesting the leather off of it with a work knife in as big a chunks as I can, rolling it up and throwing it in my car. But you can also go to Goodwill. Look at the cheap leather purses that they have. Goodwill is where I get my leather straps. You go through, you find genuine leather belts, you buy them, you save the buckle and leave about 3 or 4 inches off either side of the buckle thing, because you can always trim off, but you can't add to. And then you just take those beautiful leather straps, and then you can use those for strapping, for armor, for the sides of pouches, anything that you can work with this thin, very well-made leather. You can get the purses, and you can hack the purses apart and save, again, the hardware. If the hardware is actually sturdy, you can use it. It takes about it takes a bit of getting an eye for it. I find I don't like working with artificial materials as much. I can. I have used like synthetic leathers, and there's a type of fake leather that I actually made a lot of because I got a vast amount of it very cheap. But that's the cheapest way. Also, again, you go to Tandy's. There are kits you can buy which are more expensive, but they will usually give you some version of the tools, the appropriate leather, and good instructions. So sometimes it's worth it to invest in a kit to have the material to make what you want. You asked about weather. Starting Sunday night through Wednesday, we will not get out single digits. Great. I guess that means tomorrow I get to go on an adventure. Sarah, I don't know about that. I'm not great at sewing. And if I could focus on streaming and make the scabbard, then you don't focus on streaming. You make the scabbard with the camera, and you have your lovely wife run the side. Like I said, I'm planning to do essentially that exact kind of stream. And understandable blade. A thought for stream though. I don't know that vegan leather would stand up to the stresses the same. But I played with it. I love leather. It feels so nice when suede. And most of that is actually suede. There we gotcha. It's definitely one. Later. You could do it. You didn't think you could stream journal making or calligraphy. You can do that too. I agree. Yeah, Blade, even if it's a year down the road, it's an idea. And that's what I was wondering as well, Kitty. Thanks for the confidence. We all appreciate it. It was either $6 or $12. I can't. You know what? Hold on. Give me a second. I have some birthdays coming up, so I can't show you the screen, but I will attempt to look at my orders. If it will let me. Let me come here. Alrighty. It was 16, not 6. I am sorry. It was 16 for a pound, but they seem to have sent me more than a pound. So I'm really not complaining. Well, that's 5 pounds. Yeah, see. If you go back here, and I will send you copy. Actually, I'll do more than that. It was 16, but like I said, I only could afford $16 at the time. I could not afford 40 to get the much better deal. And then I can make a great deal of items. I kind of would like to make a brochure, a Bouchard pouch system. So Bouchard pouches for sale. One moment. Borchardt, sorry. Here. So I would love to make something like this. Why is it not doing what it's supposed to? There we go. Which is essentially a belt, and it's just several different pouches with a tie-on double ring belt. I believe that is made out of wool, I would say, felted. Felt wool. It's double layer, looks fairly sturdy. I would like to make something like that out of leather. And it was 16. I am sorry. Dyslexia gets a hold of me. But I would like to make, yes, let me see if there's, here, so this lady's wearing it as a bandolier style across the chest. But I would like to make that because I would love to make a medieval looking tactics rig, actually, for my Nerf gear. Scraps can be cheap. She speaks the truth, Blade. Also, respecting your comfortability. You could try a recorded one, and that's probably the best way to do it. Wow. I would love to. I got behind. All right. And see, that's there. Agree on request. You showed Ruby Saber. Saber is a elegant, simple fighting style. You can learn it remarkably quickly. It is large, fluid, natural motions. I've done a bit of it, of Modern Saber, many moons ago. I intend to I'm thinking of doing more. Let me see. I don't have the space dug out, so I will have to, let me see. Okay, the anything stick, cool. A saber is very powerful strikes, very smooth. It integrates well with horseback, but can be done on foot, obviously. It's very neat. Now, Gigante is my favorite, and I really do recommend, if you are going to read a period manual, reading Gigante's book as translated by Tom Leone, the Soleil, his manual, because the style is upright, it's easy. It's what, if you go back through the videos, you can actually see us sparring and things like that. I quite like Gigante. because it is a natural standing position, there is not overcommitment forward. Gigante tends to be a bit back, so it's very almost relaxed, because I find, especially with my back problems, that something like Fabris, which has a much more intense forward lean in your stance, is not comfortable over time. And it also overcommits to one person. Fiore is similar. He gets his hand up here. You'll see me creep into Fiore sometimes. But the roots of all of them are what's found in the simple sword, because I read these manuals and then I agreed on them. So you're parrying out natural, very natural, smooth motion, come back. One-handed, if you want to do it two-handed, the motion still fits. That's what I wanted. I wanted to understand and build a foundation that could be applied, that you could learn, and then from there go, I like this or I like that. Destreza is upright. It is Spanish fencing, so the footwork tends to go offline more so. It does get a lot of people poke fun at it for being too circularly when it's discussed, too circular. I believe in treating martial arts like a buffet. I pick what I like and what works for me out of any given system. I could read a whole fencing manual, and if I get one, hey, if I carry my hand, if I change my grip from this to that, or if I adjust my footwork in this transition, it will work better. If I get just that out of it, it is worth the time and energy I've invested in it. So I could do a better breakdown when I have the space here and I can step back and actually do a standing demo. I may have to go and set up a pre-recorded video. I can definitely do that in the near future. That's certainly kind of 2 Italian styles and a Spanish. That sounds right to me. I'm glad, for sure, brother. Thesis, that would be great to see. Even if it fails, it's good for people see. Sometimes do not go as planned, which is why I don't cover up my faux pas. My oops, I did it again, because it works. You guys are starting to convince me. Being goth for 20 years and talking about black leather and rivets, heaven. Remember, for your gothiness, especially if you want black leather goods, don't be fooled into thinking that this could not all easily be dyed to be black leather. Oh, so easy. Dyeing black is the easy cover-up. They sell black boot dye, black leather dye, usually in the shoe shine section of your big box stores like Wally World or Meijer, and certainly available online. And what you'll get is a bottle with a dauber, kind of like a cottony looking ball on the end of a wire, and you just put that over something that is going to get ruined, and very carefully just paint it on, let it dry, follow the directions. Black leather is something you can easily do. The only trick is to remember, if you cut it, any edge that's exposed will also have to be dyed. So you may have to touch it up. I have never used one of these guys ever to touch up the dye on black leather. For tubular rivets, speed rivets, pop rivets, even for lighter grade fashionable things, could be totally appropriate. Because I am an armorer at heart, I will always over-engineer. Hand riveting with copper is oddly soothing. And yeah, I taught her how to make her own gorget. I will be doing a video demo teaching all of you how to make your own gorget as I get enough leather and materials and I have the camera set up. I found many things that require a hammer soothing. In this case, you may want to think more in terms of a rubber mallet or a wooden mallet than just a hammer. I have a choker I actually need to lengthen that this could also fix with this kind of knowledge and practice. If you have a choker you need to lengthen, this is an opportunity. I say that because splicing in and on leather by itself, an extension, tends to stand out. So if you're going to make it stand out, you could make it stand out a bit more and possibly give more personality to it. So we can talk about that. I would love to be able to help. I have a comment dump, so I'm way behind. Let's see. Oh my. Let me see. I have to find where I was now. Oh my, I'm way behind. This is going to be a long one, guys. Sorry. No, I don't want to hide. Okay. Same Foxy, like cracking walnuts. Oh yes, so many uses, and that's what I do. I like things that I can use. I've used leather to fix hinges. I'm actually using some of this leather technique in my plans to tension spinning wheels and other thread-based items. So satisfying when you get it just right. Sounds cathartic to focus on. Yes, it really is. It pulls you in. It truly is. Yes, Nick, we are interested. All right, I will work on that then. Mental focus and energy to put into it, that would be helpful on top of useful. Yes. If you don't like walnuts, not everyone does. Geodes are good too. Smashing things and pretty rocks for the win-win. I'm all about that. I've actually used my punch on leather before. Oh, absolutely. Is a guild similar to a woolen? I am not familiar with that term. So I would need definition of woolen to be, but a guild traditionally is something that would take a fee and broker deals on behalf of a group of merchants. So usually of the same. So the silversmiths would have a guild, and they would sometimes do that to decide prices to make sure nobody's undercutting someone too bad or overcutting. Legal or not in current, it gets a little weird. But training, equipment, support basically is what you would get from a guild. And very interested in this, very Ruby. Another good source of leather, thrift stores, leather skirts, jackets. Just the pieces are weird shape. My leather scraps came from an old winter coat. I've sacrificed a jacket or two as well. I sometimes get yarn that way. My dad acquired some old fur coats that were falling apart as snake bears. I've been turning them into teddy bears. Very cool. Woolen, and okay, there we go. Thesis answered that. Yes, yarn and an entire bolt of black cloth. Oh, I've snagged things like that. Ooh, nice. Some good sources of cloth equal thrift store. Tablecloths and curtains. Yes. Now, always wash before you deal with it. Did I misunderstand? But is there a page for items? Is there a page with items for sale? That I have made? Not currently. Several people, several bots get on the Historical Fencing Guild chat Facebook group regularly and try to sell a unlicensed Historical Fencing Guild merch. Actually, part of this year's plans is for me to get get my version of the store set up and actually doing the proper Historical Fencing Guild merch. As for my stuff, yes, I do sell the games, the books, because I order them at author price and then sell them at conventions, often at a discount. The miniatures that either I make or Joy prints off that I designed on a CAD program. We have been known to sell leather goods I've made, trainers I've made, things like that, but they are point by point. I don't production make them, if that makes sense. Largely because of supply issues. Nice sword. That's a beautiful knife. Yes. This knife cost me, I want to say, $8 at a yard sale. And while I found the owner to be a loathsome creature, I had no problem paying for the $8 for this knife. And the next time you're over, ask. You'll be happy to go. Happy to discuss that. And rivets and frogs. Frogs go ribbit, ribbit. LOL. Totally tubular. Oh, you guys are having fun. Sorry, I was raised in the 90s. I am a zillennial. I was born in 81. I am at home in the 90s. Cowabunga. Even the sheath looks nice. It really is just, it's too elegant for me to take out and use as it's intended. So it is just something I prize because I just find it exquisite. We're terrible. No, you're fine. I was thinking it too. Same. Most of us are on the same level. You know what? You've given me an idea for a future screen. We'll discuss what a woolen is and maybe some examples. Tang? Oh, Tang. Excellent. Alrighty. This is my parry dagger. It is retired because of the way it's holding a curve. It's ancient. That's fine. But this is the blade, right? The part of the blade that goes into the handle is called the tang. Now, this has a threaded tang that goes full through. So let me see if I can get this. Oh, good. We just uninstall this lovely pommel. All of this needs some love and care. I didn't quite realize how badly. That's okay. I will be out with the WD-40. And then the leather pieces, I made leather washers that have been on there so long that they threaded on. So give me a moment. Now, this is ancient leather washer, chunks of leather that I cut out and vaguely circular, put on here, and then I took a box cutter knife because it was sharp and I could control it, and I sort of carved it down. This is actually an old pot handle I got from a 50-cent pot at Goodwill. But now we get much more into the nitty-gritty. We have another leather piece, and then we have the guard. I'm not going to worry too much about that. That's not terribly interesting. But this piece is the tang. Because it goes all the way through, it is considered a full tang, or very close to full tang because it's threaded on. Let me just thread. This leather is old enough, and it is almost as hard as wood. I know some of you will have fun with that. But, there we go. Sorry. That is the piece. Now, many knives have a partial tang where it's just heated up and shoved into the wood and it stops about here. There are different types of tang. The greatest of them, of course, being the Wu-Tang. No, that's a joke. Wu-Tang Clan. I have to go there. I am sorry. I'm a man of culture. But, yeah, it's one of the blade parts. I hope that answers that question. I'd be really interested in that thesis. I have no idea what that is. You're welcome, I guess. The inner part of the handle that is directly connected to the blade. Work on that possible. That will be a fun and interesting discussion. Tang. The really narrow part, because many of them are rat-tailed that you don't see because it's buried in the middle of the hill. Dumb question time. From one joint challenged crafter to another, how do you handle driving needles and so on through something as tough as leather without killing your hand? I don't do that. That's a great question. And again, I don't have... You know what a rotary punch is. Okay, you know what? Give me a second. Rotary leather punch. Now, you can get one of these very inexpensive. Let's bring this up like so. This is a rotary leather punch. And what this does is it lets you have a selection of different punches like I showed earlier, but you squeeze it like pliers. Now, the one I use, let's see, looks much like this one. And there are 6 little spurs. You can get these around $10 with leeway. At Menards, you can get them at hardware stores, obviously leather joints, Harbor Freight. But they let you punch through. Now, one thing you want is, you want one that has this hole. Don't worry, this is ridiculous. Hold on. 1 second. I have to do this. Share screen. Entire screen. Here we go. Share. We're going to close this. Do not... I have to bring it back up. I had to stage. There we go. Do not pay $155 for one of these. Do not do it. You can get a reasonably functional one at Harbor Freight for like $6, $7. Okay. Now these are relatively short handles. No, I don't want that. But you can augment that either using body weight or expanded links. But what I do is I punch the holes first. Now, there are special awls that make it easier to do so. But I really kind of prefer doing the leather punch first and then using a large leather needle, a long needle to do the sewing. And can you use an awl and hammer? Pre-make the holes. Yes. That's what I recommend. Use a rotary punch and then just sew it like normal. This is interesting. I wish I had teleporter to watch you now. Maybe probably find some leather bags and pants at Goodwill or the like. Maybe, says Sarah. The carpenters at work tell me that's the best way to do it. It's like the sword. Hammer goes away from you. Must remember that. Of course, the pointy end goes in the other man. I'm not getting flickering here. Okay. Good on my side. As for coats and jackets, Goodwill, I'll leave that is something I would not do this time of year. It is something I do during the summer. Ooh. Working on the Woo broadsword form, I bounced the back of the broadsword off the side of my knee a few times. Owie, I am sorry. And thank you, we're clear. Ow. Ouch. It's Foxy. Oh, Cindy, I could tell you stories about when I started training with weapons. Right, no flicker, no... Excellent. No snow here. Currently snowing. Little icy granules. It has not stopped for me. I have had it snowing since last night. And one of my teachers telling me about learning staff form whacked the holy snot out of his knee, which smacked it back into alignment. The bruise faded, and it hurt less. Let me see. And it hurt less. Yeah. That's how it was Monday before he smacked it. Good. Well, that's one way to do it. Eyes only thoughtfully. Trey. Another 3 inches today, but conditions were bad with about a foot of snow Monday. Yeah. Not recommended, though. Staff, nunchaku, sword, and many others have acquainted themselves with various parts of my body. Owie, I've had the same problem, though, with fewer weapons. Armor pinches are the bane of existence. Absolutely refuse mid-weight range weapons. They are the ones that bite me the most. I'm really fascinated to see the technique and know where you're having problems. Because I suspect, Foxy, because working with women and people with injuries, disabilities, etc., is my specialty. I wish you were closer. It's because things like that are things I can correct in a matter of minutes, if present, to be able to say, try it like this, hands on. I'm so glad, Ruby. That's what we're here for. We love you too, Nick. Oh, I knew that you would. That's why I wanted to bring you here. And they may have ideas that we don't. If someone isn't interested in Chinese way of fighting, I will always direct them here. Absolutely. So Bartitsu's using it overlaps. It's one approach to using the improvised weapons I was talking about last week. Very much in the EDC approach. Bartitsu has things as popular as taking your hat off, pushing it over the face of your opponent, and punching through the hat. There are wonderful shady things. I need to show it. So it reminds me of the buffet style I was telling you about because it incorporates different styles. Exactly. I think I like the idea of buffets. Oh my God, frog, ribbit. Sorry, brain derail. You're fine. I love that green. Might end up calling rivets for making frogs, doing it with interesting thoughts that come out of nowhere. Learning can be lightheaded at the same time is great for mental health. Yeah. Neuroplasticity, maintaining your idea to wrap your mind around new and exciting concepts. And one of the great tricks is to be enthusiastic and exciting about it. Not finding a definitive answer. One, the Y shape is reminiscent of frog's rear. And I'm going to just skip to the other one. 2, site claims the relationship with the Portuguese word froco, which they call an attachment widget, but froco in Portuguese means jerk, so shrug. Yeah, I'm not sure. I will have to do some deep diving, but thank you for what you brought. And Sarah says growth. Oh my God, I mentioned the bags and pants, belts. Good idea. But on the same page. Absolutely. Good info, Cindy. I did some punch and lace at school a few years with coin pouches with a snap. Exactly. That skill set, if you learn in micro version, you can apply on a macro. And that's one of the great things about practical physical skills. They never really go away. Nice, DR. And I did some of the grade school, but it's been so long I have no memory of it. That's okay. And how can leather be vegan as it's made from dead cow? Vinyl such a... It tends to wear a lot and flake off the backing. Yep. You have birthdays coming up? Not mine. I have, for example, my brother and mother are a day apart. Nagahide. Poor Nagas. It's tragic. Still not bad up from the price. Yeah, not bad at all. And that's the link. And they changed from faux to I'm sure not supposed to eat these things. And Yeah, I have a purse that I love the style of, but the fake leather stuff is falling apart. So we've talked about that. You could theoretically make a pattern of the purse, get leather, and rebuild it, or something very similar. Vegan leather feels awful. I know because we got dance outfits once, and one of the girls wanted vegan leather. Oh, not for sweating. No, 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 no. I'm getting off topic. Listening mode. Oops, others are learning this alongside me. You're fine. I'd love to have it remade in real leather. Pockets! The Sweat Factory. Yeah. I was just wondering for practicing so that I wasn't ruining good leather. But here, I mean, my thing is if you're going to practice, use material good enough that if you have a product you like, you could actually use it. It's fairly nasty by the end of performance, I bet. Sweaty, slimy, fake leather. I have experience. Ew, the face I'm making right now. Ew. All the ladies are cringing. So what do people do who are actual vegetarians? I'm not curious. I'm not curious for the people. You can mount plates to either modern materials. You can mount plates for armoring to rugged cloth and canvas. That's totally acceptable and period. So, and some vegetarians aren't opposed to animal products, so they wear leather. I have friends, and it depends by person by person. Distressa is good if you want a style that focuses on getting out of the way, at least the way I did it, which is probably doesn't have a lot in common with how it really is. Mutation for the win. I need to find my DVDs. Now, one of them was stolen. I have the backup, but Palpable Hit Productions, if you want to throw some money at it, Maestro Ramirez has La Verdadera Destreza, pardon my horrible enunciation, basically the true art of swordsmanship, as according to the Spanish, brilliant DVD series. Not Nick and I using the same analogy of a buffet. I don't know what you're talking about. What's wrong with circular? Bagua is circular. And most of my opponents, it's something that's being interestingly opposed. And yes, Spanish is very geometric. It's about the angles. But people hear the Spanish and they think Spanish magic circle, and they get confused. And seeing experience people making mistakes is helpful for news. Exactly. Saber it can be elegant. And saber is also a very broad term where you will find the basics are very similar across like the Indian talwar, as in from India. I can't remember who specializes in the talwar swords. If you've ever seen the film League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, what Captain Nemo fights with, it's a great place to watch it. Many, many, many of Zorro's techniques are actually saber. Because it's far more concussive than straight linear fencing. It's interesting. Totes are a good thing for dying projects. Won't stay in the tub that way. Exactly. You can definitely, if you have to do immersion, this is a paint on and absorb. But yes, I definitely see Sharpies on leather. I've done that. Use them on demonias. Oh, yeah, that weren't holding up. They never do. But yes, depending on the person using the saber, it can be very fluid and reminds me of giant flowers. Before I found my wife were only for occasions. Yeah. Have find video I saw about. Yes, me too. I know the one you're talking about. Ruby, my teachers competed with the Wu style saber form, and Chinese saber is Vin. Choker for threaded rivets with the spikes to screw onto. That is doable. You need kind of special hardware, and there's a setter that should come with the kit or be available for those, but that is doable. That way you can switch out the spikes to different lengths, different bangles. I totally get where you are. Eastern Saber. I'm pretty sure Trey showed Western Saber. And Wu style? It's more of the Wu family. Brent's a Chai Chi. Merch. I was born in 80. Sarah, so was my wife. I have no problem with an older woman. 89 vintage here. See, we're close enough. I still think Trey should make a cryptid Nick Amagurumi. I always forget the root in the middle. And we could enjoy watching that. Also 80, 79, 90. See? Other bro from another mother was actually 82. Why am I surprised right now? 86. See? Hey, doctor, if you're still there, you want to chime in? Trey is the same age as my little brother. And 2003. That's fine. You're not the youngest person probably watching this, but you're way there. And that's fine. We help. But she's smarter. Has nothing to do. That DR is probably far oldest. No worries. I'm 24 in disguise. I guess Swakhammer. There are other ways. Yes. 155. Isn't that painful? If I'm 79, his number is a bit less. LOL. 155. Holy left-handed elephants. What is it? Gold-plated? Fun fact, most polar bears are left-handed. That's fascinating. Yeah, I really, for you, Thesis, because you have good hand strength, again, they're like $7, $7 to $10. You may have to pay a few more on, get one through eBay. Absolutely. My grandfather, general manager, is maybe 24. Current GM. Don't think they'll last. So what would be considered a mid-range weapon? And Foxy says, sword length. My fan is short, which means close range, but I'm not likely to overreach with it. Nick is never going to catch us at this rate. No, I'm 15 minutes behind. I'm not doing bad. Wishing they would. I keep looking for something that doesn't keep yanking. Wishing they wouldn't. I'm looking for something that doesn't keep yanking my head around. Oh. Current, when transferred away, was spectacular also in his 20s. I'll leave that to stay on topic. Yeah. These are had those times. Same. Maybe you could do a recorded video of the different styles and showing how you interpret them, because the saber I saw wasn't elegant. And that's okay. I'll send Nick the video I sent to you so he sees the reference. Please do. Wu family is not the same as Wu style. Indeed. Tulwar is beautiful, just not my style. No, but it is an elegant, and it is essentially okay. If you take a gently curved weapon, one-handed grip, some type of guard that draws quickly from the sheath, it can manifest as something like a katana. It can manifest as a military saber. It can manifest as what they used to call a Chinese broadsword, also known as a Chinese saber, better known as a Dao, and all the subsets. But it's still fundamentally a weapon of similar length, similar balance, similar intended application. So we have to look at it. Yeah, maybe a belt for lengthening the leather of yeah, you could get a piece of it and connect it. If you could use conchos, which are thread together pieces that are very attractive, taking your spacer and turning it into an element of focus. I'll make me feel old. 70. That's fine. Like, I've been with someone born in 02, freaking cougar right there. A 1953 vintage. Rock on, DR. Nice cars. We have a Harbor Freight down the street. Yeah, and if they don't have it, they probably can order it. But given that you're in Utah, Certain hand tools and prepper tools are very popular because of the culture. Thanks, LOL. I was married a year when he was born. Not a relationship, but dang. It happened. These happen. Now, we're at hour 45, almost to the second of my 1 hour live stream. This is what I want. If you ever wondered what I want the live stream to be, it is this: an interaction where we are taking our mutual understood knowledge and experience. We're asking questions. We're getting answers. Yes, ma'am. It is 9:46 my time. I start at 8. I live for this. The Historical Fencing Guild originally started from as the group for workshop nights. And that literally, we would meet up in the South Haven Public Library. This broadcast has been riveting, brilliant. And it was to cover the theory that we never got to discuss at practices and no one would talk about anywhere else. Because if you got a bunch of us together and we were somewhere we could fight, we would fight. We would spar. We'd have fun. But this level of discussion is vital, both for the preservation. I believe in the preservation and the dissemination of knowledge. Okay, Ruby. No, I am delighted. All right? I am delighted. It is my pleasure to stay past my usual time. Your questions were not literally, ma'am. Those questions are the exact reason I write my books and why I do these streams. It is my joy and my passion to help you find the parts that interest you and make it as accessible as possible. Because I operate in fields that are militantly gatekept. And in a world where people gatekeep gaming and martial arts and certain craft skills and all these things because they want to hoard their position or their relative goodness, etc. I want to build an express lane and a wheelchair ramp in. The only people I gatekeep are what's called an ask hole. And that is somebody who comes in and asks the same question over and over again, but doesn't do anything about it, and then complains when they don't follow the advice and it doesn't work. Or the people who are genuinely rude. Because I will not tolerate isms, anything where people are degrading other people non-consensually. I will not abide that in my organizations. So we do that. Yeah, when people stop, there's so much. The shows do go often, and I'm not trying to skip the topics, but with this group, if the conversation is good, that's how I can tell. I enjoyed being here and learning. I'm glad. This is why IndieCD works. We all learn, teach, and converse in a human way. Yep. Right, DR? I am so glad that you all have come tonight. Let me hide that. I'm so pleased that, you pulled yourselves away from your busy Friday nights to sit with me for nearly 2 hours and talk. Dance moms are nightmares. I fully understand. I've had to deal with people much like that in many of my different jobs. I've had a lot of jobs. But this is why we do what we do. It's so important to find what works and interests you in this life. And I believe, I'm going to go on a tangent here. I was going to have a drink, but I decided against it. I believe that the continuation and dissemination of skills, especially skills that you can develop without having to go through financial transactions or heavy financial transactions to develop them, are important. Because when you find something you resonate with, it radiates back through you. I don't know if I'll ever be able to blacksmith again, just due to the mechanics of my hands and some other things. But when I do blacksmith and the metal is striking the metal, it is a very primal, natural thing for me. It feels right and just. I am where I need to be. The world clears away, thoughts stop mattering, and I am just, it is me, my hands, my tools, and the metal to make something beautiful, useful, but preferably both. I also have taken such joy and such comfort and such perspective and understanding from the art of swordsmanship. Every great thing in my life can be routed back to the sword, at least in my adult life. I met Amanda in pursuit of the sword. I've met my friends in pursuit of the sword. I've helped people all over the world in pursuit of the sword. And I am not a famous person. I am not a rich nor powerful person. But I've used the sword as a lever to affect change in myself and in others towards a positive outcome. You will always be a student. The moment you stop is the moment you die. And there are a great many dead people walking around who don't realize they're dead yet. It's no way to live. So keep trying. Keep working. Keep doing your drills. Keep your guard up. Be kind to yourself and each other. And as always, my dear friends, thank you for supporting your local swordmaster. I will be back next week for another episode, hopefully involving some leatherworking. There's some great conversations still going in the chat, but I am starting to reach the wall, so to speak. I can feel myself being a little flushed by the heat in here, and I need to have something to eat. So, absolutely, I will say this. Rich is not what you have in your bank account, so many believe. No. Rich is a guy who lives in LaPorte and makes chainmail. No. Rich is having family. It's having friends. It's having a goal that does good in the world. And you guys are all part of that. I live for the moment I see each of you shine in what you do. I want to see the light coming off you because it brightens up my universe. And otherwise, it would be a very dark and desolate place much of the time. I will talk to you all very soon. Toodles, folks.